The Akhnoor encounter, where in the latest we are learning that security forces have neutralized Jaish terrorists who were found using advanced DMR communication sets to maintain a secure line, evading tracking attempts by Indian forces. This communication strategy that is part of the larger Jaish network that is based on DMR systems. This is yet another revelation in terms of how the Jaish has been functioning, and they are using advanced technologies in order to beat any sort of tracking attempts by our forces. But this, as we now understand, that they were using advanced DMR communication sets in order to secure their line so they could carry out any sort of terror attacks. But after the Akhnoor encounter, where investigation continues, Republic has learned from its sources that investigative agencies have now gathered details on how they were using advanced technology in order to evade any sort of tracking attempts by our forces. The communication strategy that is part of the larger Jaish network, and they have been operating on DMR systems in order to evade any sort of attempts by Indian forces. Gursimran, with us on the broadcast to take us through the details. Gursimran, this certainly is an eye-opener given how terror attacks from here on may also be carried out by the Jaish and what our forces need to be extremely aware of. But do take us through the details of the DMR systems that are being used by the Jaish network and how it may change our way of functioning too.
See, now during this encounter, the security forces have recovered some of the wireless communication devices from these terrorists, which turn out to be working on the DMR communication systems. That is what we are getting to know. These are the secure communication lines that have been established for the interpersonal communication between the terrorists by the Jaish group, so that they do not come. Because see, what happens that in this kind of a system, the DMR-based communication system, the wavelengths are not intercepted by the systems, and that is what is a major challenge for the security forces, and that has now been exploited by the Jaish-e-Mohammed to create its own communication system. These communications are end-to-end encrypted communications because these are based on a limited frequency. So at max they can go up to 10 kilometers, from 1 kilometer to 10 kilometer range in an open space where there is no barriers, and that is what these communication systems are all about. These are the digital mobile radio systems being used by the Jaish that have been used on their own private frequency. These are not on the public frequency, and when it is on the private frequency, it cannot be traced down by any of the intercepting systems, and that is why it has become a really challenging thing for the Jammu and Kashmir police as well as the agencies that are operating in Jammu and Kashmir. Because yesterday also one of the similar radio set has been recovered by the forces during the encounter. A couple of radio sets have been recovered from the encounter site by the Jammu and Kashmir police along with the Indian Army, and this suggests that all three terrorists, they were planning that once they will execute attack, they will split. They will not be united, they will split, and then they will use these communication devices, these DMR communication system, to communicate with each other so that they can be in touch despite being at different places. And that was the sole reason that we have seen in the recent past that the terrorists have stopped using the mobile phones. They are now using these kind of communication sets where their frequency and the wavelength cannot be intercepted by any of the intercepting agency, and they are free from any of the surveillance so that they can escape from the clutches of the law.
Gursimran, many thanks for getting us those details. Let's also play out for our viewers that report that you filed earlier, in which you described the underground hall in Jogwan village that was used as a bunker by these terrorists to hide from the forces.
Three Jaish terrorists have been neutralized by the security forces in 28 hours long operation that happened in the Jogwan area of Akhnoor, and right now we are inside that very basement where the terrorists were actually hiding. And since this was one of the build-up areas that there was a structure there where terrorists could take shelter, so terrorists exactly did the same. The terrorists were here, they were giving a tough time to the security forces, but the forces, after a relentless operation that went on for more than a day's time, they neutralized these terrorists. And on the walls, the markings that you see, these are the bullets that were fired by the security forces. Heavy exchange of fire has taken place between the terrorists and the security forces. The terrorists try to ensure that they do not get caught. Even the rocket launchers were also fired at the location of the terrorists, and these pillars that were a support system of this very hall that is here, this has completely been destroyed. And on the other side, on the wall, that you see the markings of the heavy shelling that has taken place, so as these terrorists can be neutralized. And the visuals that you on screen, these are of the heavy shelling that has taken place. The terrorists were also heavily armed, they were firing at the security forces. And as you see here also, these are some of the remains of the explosives that have been fired at the terrorists by the security forces, and also the vice versa, because these terrorists that have recently infiltrated into the Indian territory, as per the inputs from the line of control in this very sector only, they were carrying the huge cache of arms and ammunition, and this was the sole reason. This is also a marking that how rocket was fired at the terrorist location. And not only this, because the nearby areas have also been destroyed in this ongoing operation, in which the terrorists were neutralized by the security forces in a relentless operation of 28 hours. There is a huge recovery of arms and ammunition that has been done by the security forces in the ongoing Akhnoor operation, and also as we speak, the search operation in the area is underway to ensure that there is no explosive that has been put in place in the nearby areas. Not only the damage has been done inside the hall, but if we move out also, there has been a damage to the sheets and the upper areas where the terrorists were actually firing, because the terrorists were not firing at a single place. They were firing in open so that the maximum damage can be inflicted. If Sarjeevan can show you the upper side also, where there is a sheet, a tin that is there, that has also been shattered by the bullets of these terrorists. The main motive of the terrorists was to inflict maximum damage, no matter to whom they are damaging, because they knew that outside this hall is only the security forces and they can inflict maximum damage to them. And as the terrorists opened the fire and tried to rush outside, they were neutralized by the security forces in a 2-day-long operation that happened in the forward area of the Jogwan in Akhnoor.
All right, shifting focus to Karnataka in terms of actor Darshan, who was seeking bail. Now, in the latest, what happened in court, where he has been granted 6 weeks of interim bail. Not just that, what transpired in court, this primarily on the grounds of his health that was stated by his lawyers. And actor Darshan, who is out of jail at the moment as he gets interim bail for 6 weeks. In fact, his legal team that will continue to pursue a permanent resolution as the 6-week bail period progresses. But what happened in court, where the court has approved temporary relief after Darshan cited health issues requiring immediate medical attention. Cutting across to Sri Lakshmi, joining us from the Kannada newsroom to take us through the details of what happened in court, Sri Lakshmi, and what his lawyers may do further in order to ensure that he stays out.
Right, famous criminal lawyer C.V. Nagesh is arguing on behalf of Darshan. Last 2 times, Darshan could not get bail because C.V. Nagesh highlighted the loopholes of the charge sheet, which is of 3,000 plus pages. But at that point of time, though the argument in the court was extremely interesting, Darshan did not get any bail. Now, this time, C.V. Nagesh applied for bail plea on medical grounds, saying that Darshan is suffering from severe backache and foot numbness. He may have to undergo surgery. As per the doctor's report, doctor who has examined in Ballari jail, as per those reports, it said that he has to undergo surgery.